Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. Today I have a habituation encounter story to share with you all that comes from a Reddit user that goes by the name of SasquatchAngie. This is part 1 of 2. In part 2, Angie will share more of her interaction with the Sasquatch Clan. Okay, if you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Now sit back and relax as we begin with today's episode. These events takes place from 2017 to 2021. Due to the nature of these events, I have not requested a location of these events. In 2017, Sasquatch moved onto my property. It took me a long time to figure out what was happening because Sasquatch just wasn't something I thought about. They toyed with me. I bet it was like a game to them. They do have a sense of humor. I would follow knocks that always changed directions. I would follow scent trails that led to nowhere. I would find tree structures and arrangements that truly baffled me. Too many trees were coming down with no natural explanation. I actually started thinking I had disturbed an old native spirit, but I never considered Sasquatch. The more I investigated, the more they made themselves known. Eventually, they started building and spending daytime hours in the swamp right in my backyard. It wasn't a good encounter because I had pushed them too far with my constant invasion and they threatened me. It was the most horrifying experience of my life and I thought I was going to die that day. I made it back to my house, but they continued to terrorize me for a long time. That's when my life changed forever. After they threatened me, they became more aggressive towards me in general. I had 3 dogs that I always walked in the woods daily. I guess that's why they started watching me in the first place. During this time, we couldn't go into the woods. We have a big field that's for planting. It's surrounded on 3 sides by woods. There's a road in the front. When I would go onto the field with my dogs, they would surround us. Sometimes they would whistle, that thrill whistle that made my blood run cold. If I got too close to the wood line, they would growl at me. The dogs didn't try to go into the woods either. They attacked my house at night, or maybe I should say they harassed me, reminded me they were there all through the night. They pulled wires, jumped on roofs, destroyed my dish. I put up lights all around my house, even on the roof. I put a game cam at all of the entrances as a deterrent. Someone recommended that for me, and it seemed to work. I covered all my windows. I spent my days preparing for the night. It was winter, and the days were short. They would watch me from the wood line. I started staying up most of the night. I never knew what might happen. I lived in constant fear, constant gut-wrenching fear. They were a constant threat. I reached out to multiple Bigfoot groups for help. Everybody wanted pictures. Taking pictures is what got me in trouble. I do many pictures, no perfect picture. I spent hours in the woods taking pictures of their structures. I ignored the strong feeling not to enter certain areas. I ignored the signs they tried to send me to back off. I kept at it until they drew the line. Up to this point, I guess I didn't really believe what was happening myself. It was real, but it wasn't. It was a new mystery, a new interest, I knew everything. And even though they had interacted with me, they never came out and met me face to face. They would knock or shake branches or scent an area or leave me gifts. I would catch glimpses of them running through the woods. That was mostly the juveniles. The juveniles are very active in the daytime. The day I was threatened, I was approached on the left side, while slightly turned to the right. My right arm was extended because I was holding out my phone, snapping random pictures. I heard a crunch of leaves and a snort. I assumed it was a deer. But the next crunch and the next snort was right on me, and not a deer. I froze. I was totally frozen. My brain told me I was going to die. Don't move. I don't know how long it was like that. I'm sure not long, but time freezes when you're expecting to die. I remember my brain telling me to move, get out. I was already slightly turned to the right with my arm extended, so I continued that movement, turned, and walked out of the swamp. I didn't stop to pick up my cigarette butt I had laid down before entering the swamp. The next morning, that butt was laying on my back doorsteps inside the carport. That sent my terror to a whole new level. When I left off, the Sasquatch had become very aggressive towards me. I caused the aggression by constantly invading their space, taking pictures. They tolerated me a long time and then drew the line. I lived in constant fear, anticipating what they might do to me or my dogs or my family. This went on for about a month, to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. It was killing me. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't think of anything but Sasquatch. I have to admit here that I did go to the police. I've never admitted that before now. That's how desperate I was for someone to take me seriously. I live in a little town, and it seemed Sasquatch were everywhere. I took what pictures I had, which weren't very good, and went to the little police station. You can imagine the response I got. I was like the stay-at-home mom in a horror story who was the only witness to the ghosts until it was too late. Finally, in a BF group, someone suggested I talk to the Sasquatch and ask them to stop. It was pointed out to me that they had not hurt me. It occurred to me that Sasquatch was using a form of psychological warfare. They were killing me without touching me, or my fear was killing me. I already had a clue about their intelligence, but this concept sealed the deal. These were highly intelligent, highly organized beings, not apes, not monster, a people. The day I approached them, I was at the end of my rope. Either they would go ahead and kill me or stop terrifying me. Either way, it had to end. I went to the woodline in my backyard and just started talking. As I spoke, they began to rise from their sitting position. I could clearly see their silhouettes as they stood. They were listening to me. I made promises that day, and I have kept them. As soon as I finished talking, I began taking down all the lights I had put out. I took everything down, lights, game cams, plastic from the windows, and they watched me. Things improved after this, slowly. I was eventually able to go back into the woods. I talked to the Sasquatch whenever I went into the woods. They would acknowledge me with knocks. A young female started staying close to the house in the bushes. She would chitter to me. Have you ever heard them chitter? It's so fast no human could imitate it. One morning I interrupted musical talk between her and another. It stopped when I came outside, but what I heard was melodious. I've also heard unified humming. It was about 4 a.m. when I awoke and decided to go outside. I sat in my carport and listened to them. I got a strong feeling that they were mourning. They were grieving something. We started developing a kind of relationship. Not that they came out and hung out with me, but certain individuals were always close by, keeping watch. They communicated with gifts and knocks and branch movements. They also used scenting. On a couple of occasions, when I was really sad about something, I would get soft cooing. One morning, I actually got somewhat of a verbal response to my good morning. I greeted them every morning whether I could see them or not. The response I got was deep and guttural. It sounded like many voices coming together to make one. He said good morning back to me. It stopped me in my tracks. In 2021, the bulldozers came. Over 300 acres around me were destroyed, including the tunnel home they had built from branches and grapevines. I wondered what the operator thought about the structure when they saw it. Many things happened during our brief peacetime, things I would consider paranormal for a lack of another word. I wouldn't go into that now because I've already talked enough. And there are some things that are so sacred to me, I won't let the haters desecrate the memory. The Sasquatch Clan I have come to know had to move on. I still have activity in my woods, but it's from groups just passing through. I guess the property is part of their migration route. Some are friendly and some are not. They will always have safe passage on my property. I will end this here. I'll try to answer the real questions throughout the day. I am putting together some pictures for you. I'll post them today. My hope is that I've made Sasquatch less of a monster to some. I believe they are people, not like us, but we have no right to consider ourselves superior to them. In many ways, they are superior to us. I hope you all enjoyed this episode today. I definitely enjoyed reading it to you guys. And thank you to SasquatchAngie for sharing your incredible experience with the OC community. I cannot wait to share part 2 with everyone. And one thing for sure, you're definitely one brave woman. And thank you for allowing me to share your experiences. If these stories reminded you of an encounter that you may have had and would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I'd be honored to share your story on this channel. Thank you all for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash that subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.